Approval of our minutes.
So moved.
I was getting ahead of me, Matthew, you're doing good.
I did mine.
All right.
Second.
Moved and second, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. New business, our first item up is authorization to enter into a joint funding agreement with the U.S. Geological Survey, Water Resources Division for stream flow gauging station at Cribbs Mill Creek. Total is $13,075. Kimberly, welcome.
Hello, how are y'all today?
Good.
How are you?
Good. So this first one is for the stream flow gauging station at Crystal Creek. This one is used by the wastewater plant. We do these same similar items, the next one also with USGS every year. So, and we requested these be doubled up due to the timing of those. This is funded out of our operations budget.
Questions?
I'm guessing from stream flow gauging, I kind of got an idea of what it is.
Yes.
But what's a stream flow gauging station?
It's the station that measures the flow in
The station where they gauge the flow of the stream?
You figured it out on your own.
rainfall and what's
I mean, is it a facility or is it just something stuck in the ground or
It's
what?
like a gauge, like a smaller gauging station that sits there that's like reads radio reads the data remotely.
It's not like a lift station or something.
No.
No concrete culverts and it's just something stuck in it, okay.
Most of
I don't have any further questions.
Good.
We entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moving second, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 1 is approved. Item number 2 is authorization to enter into a joint funding agreement with U.S. Geological Survey, Water Resources Division for stream flow gauging station on North River near Samantha and a stage gauge and rain gauge at Lake Tuscaloosa. The total is $21,770. Kimberly.
Yeah, this is basically the same thing. This one is used for gauging levels at Lake Tuscaloosa, and this one is funded out of the lake's operations budget.
Questions?
Say the last part again, please, Kimberly.
It's funded out of the Lakes Division's operations budget.
No, before that, for
It
gauging.
helps with the gauging of the rain flow coming into Lake Tuscaloosa, the volume coming in that's moving down
Where
from
you
the
used to
creeks,
get your numbers.
coming into the lake. It's north of the lake, and it's what comes into the lake. It's measuring rainfall volumes. It's the same as the other one, but it's measuring the volumes that are coming into the Lake Tuscaloosa.
Hasn't been much lately.
So you don't just look at the. Okay. I'm gonna shut up. Motion.
Second.
Motion second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 2 is approved.
They
Kimberly?
collect data, rainfall data and things like that, historical data that we can go back on and look at as well, but it also helps us gauge what's coming in, the volumes that are coming in.
So the level of the lake is a function of that flowing into it versus how much you let out of it at the dam.
That's correct.
So these stream flow get this second one. That's isolating just what's coming into it. I
That's
started to ask, why don't you just look at the rocks on the side and see whether the water is higher or lower? But it's because you're also impacting that at the dam.
That's right.
Fascinating.
Mayor, Kimberly and Ron took care of a problem for me
That's
this
why
morning,
we're-
almost
That's
immediately.
That's why we're here today.
And I want to brag on you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Okay. Did we vote on that?
Yes.
Okay. Looking over there, see, Vicki, Brandy, y'all have to keep me straight. Sorry. I was just mesmerized by the flow of the water at the lake. So I lost my place there. Item number 3 is approval of contract with Skipper Consulting to provide professional engineering and consulting services for transportation. Totals $50,000 annually for a 2-year period. Mike, welcome.
Yes, sir, thank you very much. So this will be, an agreement that we can use Skipper for any traffic-related issues, transportation issues on basically an on-call scenario. If we need traffic counts, if we have, traffic control plans that need to be reviewed or administered, just the whole gamut of transportation services. The way the contract is structured, is a maximum of $50,000 annually for 2 years. we need a service, we will ask for Skipper to give us a proposal. They will provide us with a proposal, a fee, and basically a schedule, a timeline of work. So we'd have the opportunity to either negotiate that fee or whatever. So that's what this is set up.
Mike, what's the value of having the 2-year contract if for each event within the 2 years, you still go out and get essentially a bid with the scope of work, right? See, that was what you
So
just
so
said.
this is professional service, so it won't be a bid.
Okay.
But it's just a way to kind of,
Well, when you, so we approve 50,000 for, up to 50 for a 2-year period.
that's right.
Give us an example of an item you would use them for, an event.
A very recent issue is the traffic issues related with McDonald's Ferry Road. We use Skipper Consulting to analyze that, look at our traffic signal phasing and so forth.
So what I'm asking is, inside this 2-year contract, what occurs differently than if we use them outside this 2-year contract?
Nothing really. This would keep us from having to maybe bring to you each contractual obligation with Skipper.
Okay.
That's $2,500 or whatever.
Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions. Motion.
Second.
Moving second, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 3 is approved. Item number 4 is authorization to reject non-competitive bid and authorization to rebid the Juanita Drive Improvements Phase 2 project. Mike?
Yes, sadly, we received bid instead of bids August the 30th on the Juanita Drive Phase 2 improvement project. We desperately want to get that going, but since it's got federal funds involved and this is becomes a non-competitive bid, it raises the city's risk of not being able to use those funds with a non-competitive bid. What we've done is we have contacted the prospective bidders that were at the pre-bid conference and asked them, hey, you showed an interest in the project, we didn't receive a bid, and overwhelmingly the majority of them said it was just a timing issue. So what we want to do is wait 30 days, maybe 60 days, we're going to keep contacting some of these contractors that have pre-bid and see if we can find a window that we can go back and bid this project again and receive more than one.
Let me say, I really appreciate it. The mayor and I know Walt wants this going as much as I do, because it's been years. and it's been the staff has worked so hard on this, and Tom getting the rights of way, and then there was a flooding issue with 9 homes, and it's been a nightmare for us and for the residents who many of them have just lost patience with me and the city, but I've stayed in close contact with them and let them know that this is unavoidable, and to get the project and hopefully even better results, it's going to be yet another delay in getting the project started. So, but hopefully we'll get the number of bids we need, and then we can move forward as fast as possible.
Mike, once the bids come in and you award the contract, how long will it take to do these improvements?
It's a 180-day contract.
Okay. So we hope by the end of the year we would have a bid award. We hope. That's fair?
That's what we're thinking.
Okay.
We're thinking re-advertise, receive bids before the end of the year. That'll put us probably a notice to proceed late February, early March.
I do, if anyone's watching, I'm sure there are some from the Juanita Drive area that, thank you for your patience. We've been out there how many times, and house by house, it's been something that should have already been well underway, but it just happened. You know, this is one of those things that we can't jeopardize losing the dollars. And with just one bidder, it could jeopardize our federal funding.
Yes.
And so I begrudgingly agreed that this is the best thing for the city, of course, to do. And in the end, I think we'll get a better project.
Boo.
When
But I
did,
booed. Yes, I did boo.
when was the closing period for receiving bids?
Well, so we went through the normal advertising process, and we had a pre-bid conference a week ahead of the bid opening on August the 3rd. And at the pre-bid opening, there was quite a bit of activity or interest. We had six prospective bidders that bid. So we anticipate probably at least three of the six submitting a bid on bid day the following week. Unfortunately, that didn't happen.
And when was the closing date for receiving the bids?
August the 3rd.
The same day you open them the same day on the
Yeah,
closing?
yeah.
I just want to make sure, this is not a reflection on the one bidder, because they did, I was pleased, they're out of Birmingham, and I was pleased with what I'd seen about their work.
Basically, the risk of a non-competitive bid with federal funds is sole reason.
Yes. Thank you, Mike.
Any other questions for Mike? Would entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
You got a first,
You got
Joe?
me.
And I can make the motion, but I think
I
the
thought you
council.
made the motion.
I'd be
So
glad
moved.
to.
So
Second.
Moved second, and all in favor say aye. Aye. Item number 4 is approved. Item number 5 is approval of a professional services contract with John B. Galloway for annual bridge inspection and reporting. The total is $64,900. Selvin, welcome.
Thank you, Counselor. And I will repeat all that you just said, or I'll just say any questions. This is our annual contract for bridge inspections. We do this with Mr. Galloway. Your packet includes the full scope of work that comes with this contract. In addition to the bridge inspections that he handles all of our administrative functions that go along with that inspection, which is a fairly comprehensive process to report all of these findings to both the state and federal reporting agencies. He also supports us with any kind of maintenance or engineering work that we need to do in addressing any of our bridge deficiencies. This year we have a total of 17 structures that will be inspected, and that fee is $64,900. We do cover this out of our operations.
Selvin, Mr. Green, at one point I remember that you gave, if I can recollect, the not only the number of bridges, but the ages of those bridges.
So we have a total of 45 bridge structures that we maintain.
Okay.
And they range in area, in age fairly widely, anywhere from that 55-year-old to we just got a couple of bridges that we just redid a couple of years ago. So the 2 bridges on Albright Road, for example, are just a couple of years old. So they span in that age. Engineering department has put together a portfolio of all of our bridge efforts to show kind of where these bridges fall and what we expect to be the life cycle of those moving forward. There are a couple of bridges that we have on our radar for concern. One is the bridge on Steelman Boulevard right there at Nick's Kids Avenue.
Right.
And the other one is the bridge over at Lake Nicodemus. So those are the 2 structures that are most critical to us at the point. They are hosted at the moment, and they do get inspected once a year because of our concerns.
Thank you.
What's the little end and the big end on these 17?
What do you mean?
Of the 17 bridges in this, what's at the top end size-wise, and what's at the bottom end?
On the top end, the biggest bridge we got is probably the one over Steelman that we got inspected. That's on the top end. The smaller end in our bridge structure, we also include culverts, and some of those culverts are only 8 or 6 feet wide and maybe 20 feet long on some of them. So again, small to very large overall.
don't have any other questions. Motion.
Second.
Moving second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 5 is approved. Item number 6 is approval to enter into minor public works contract with Crimson Insulation for re-insulation of energy recovery unit chilled water coil. It's a lot to say there. $1,585. Tim, welcome.
Thank you. So this work is pretty much exactly what you've got here, is to remove existing insulation around the unit ductwork and then re-insulate. The ductwork was damaged from a water leak. This unit is inside Annex 1, and it is funded through our facilities maintenance operating budget.
Questions,
Motion.
Tim?
Second.
Move second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 6 is approved. Item number 7 is approval of minor public works contract with Taylor Electric to replace light at River District Park. The total is $1,600. Craig, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, council.
Good afternoon.
As it says, we're gonna need a $1,600 contract with Taylor Electric to replace the lighting at River District Park, one of the RGB lights that shines up at the church.
So moved.
Where's money coming out of?
It is coming out of our repair supply.
Second.
Moved second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 7 is approved. Item number 8 is authorization for the mayor to sign a memorandum of understanding with Rubicon Technologies. Chris or Jason, whoever wants to take the floor, please. Thank you.
Afternoon, council. This
Afternoon.
is
Good afternoon.
a MOU with a company called Rubicon for route and guidance and fleet vehicle maintenance for ESD. They will provide us with a 90-day free trial of their software. So this is an MOU for that trial. There's no dollars associated with this, and if at the end of that trial we would be interested in pursuing it, then we would come back to you again with an actual contract with cost.
Describe one more time what it does. You said a
It
route
is,
trial?
it's for term-by-term route guidance, and Chris can probably speak better to
Yeah,
it.
it
but
is a route management system. We'll install it on 10 of our trucks. It allows us to upload our routes for garbage, trash, and recycling. Monitor the routes, make sure the truck drivers know turn by turn where to go. That's a big deal with the guys we got now in the turnovers. Putting them in a truck, saying this is the route you run. This gives them turn by turn directions, kind of like a Google Maps type thing, but is coordinated with our accounts through the city. And it lets us know all garbage service per house. And it will let us monitor, hey, this house has been served, this one hasn't, and so forth. So it's a route guidance and a route monitoring system. It'll let us monitor the efficiency of our routes as well as give turn-by-turn directions.
Do you, Mr. Whitaker?
Yes.
On that system, will you manually do that for the route? Or how would that be?
So we'll take all of our accounts that are active in Munis, and then we'll upload them into Esri GIS, right? And then it's uploaded from there to Rubicon.
How long's the no-cost pilot?
It's 90 days from when we finish implementation. So they'll upload all of our data, send us the devices and everything, and then the 90 days starts from when we're given the keys.
Currently, we have a route management system in only our garbage trucks. So we use a company called FleetMind currently, and we're comparing these two to each other so we can have it in all of our trucks, including trash and recycling.
Motion.
Second.
Moving second, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 8 is approved. Item number 9 is authorization to execute a contract with J.J. Cunningham LLC for runway 12-30 seal and airfield markings project. Jeff, welcome.
Good afternoon. We've been working through a ALDOT-based grant that's 50-50 between us and the state. We went to bid last Tuesday and had good results. Came under bid for J.J. Cunningham, coming in at $313,833.30. That will be for their contract, but this will fall under the total grant amount, which will be $412,833. So for this portion, it's just for the contract award, but that will be reimbursed with the ALDOT grant, 50-50.
You'll get the 50%, half of that from ALDOT.
The total half out of the whole grant, including the engineering services, our portion will be $206,417, and that's paid out of our airport improvement fund.
Questions, committee members?
Let me say to you, Jeff, thank you so much for all of the diligence and the work, the hard work that you're putting into our airport, and going after resources to better our community. Mr. Chair, I have no other questions. If not, I would like to make a motion that we accept.
Got a motion on the table?
And Jeff, this seal coat,
Yes, sir.
what is that?
It's a rejuvenator that if we do nothing to pavement, it'll reach its life cycle sooner, so
It's a
about-
rejuvenator that if we do nothing to pavement, what?
it'll get to its end of life cycle in about 20 years. If we do these types of treatments, which is kind of a new top layer, it'll extend that life out to possibly 25 or 25 plus years. So our newer pavements, we're trying to do pavement maintenance to extend the life of that initial investment on each of those pieces of portions of, or pieces of the airfield at the airport.
Okay. Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 9 is approved. Item number 10 is authorization to enter into a construction contract with John Platt Company for the Snow Hinton Park Improvement Project. The total is $10,274,766.64. Eric, welcome.
Hey, thank you, Counselor. So this is to award the Snow Hinton Park improvements to John Plott. We've got Lauren Pratt and Steve Provost with Barge. They're the designers on this project. They've got a presentation they'd like to go through with you guys and just kind of talk through the project.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Welcome.
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 Great. Thank you. Appreciate you having us here. I'm Steve Provo with Barge Design Solutions and the landscape architect for the design of Snow Hinton Park, and I'm here with my colleague Lauren Pratt. He's the lead civil engineer on the project. This project started several years ago, and we wanted to do a quick overview of the process and the master plan to remind everybody of where we came from, how we got here, and the intention of the project. So these are the items we want to cover. I want to briefly go over the basis of design, the existing conditions, the information we got from the public, which was critical in driving the scope of work for the project. I will review the full master plan and show you the pieces of it that were included in this phase 1 piece. And then during the construction document phase of the project, we identified a few alternates that could be bid that would give the city some options for what they could take or include in the project or not. So I'll review what those are. I want to go over, we built a model of the project. I want to go over and show you some of the images. This is going to be a fantastic project when it's completed, and we want to give you some images of what it will look like. And then we're also looking at some options for value engineering on the project to consider some other options for cost savings. So today, as you all know, the park is wide open. It's a well-loved site. There is not really enough to do out in this park, but people do use it quite a bit. There is vehicles that go right through the site. We did a site analysis of this project site to determine the pros and cons and what we would want to maintain and utilize on the site and what we possibly would want to change. And one of the key things that we've noticed is it's difficult for pedestrians or bicyclists to get to the site, particularly on this area of McFarland Boulevard due to the high traffic there. But it was also some challenges on the interior because we had vehicular traffic driving directly through the middle of the site. There are also some structures on the site that are in moderate or poor condition that we wanted to consider replacing or upgrading. And then we also wanted to see how we could activate the site more than it is being activated now. The walking trail seems to be the primary use out on the site. One of the things that's super important about Snow Hinton Park is a lot of people live very close to it. Within a 1 mile radius, there are over, at least at the time that this was done, which was in 2020, there were over 5,600 housing units within that 1 mile radius. So
There's a lot of people live right nearby that want to utilize the park, and when we talk to the public about which parks in the system they used the most, Snow Hinton Park was by far the most popular park that people went to. So it's critical that we enhance and improve what is happening out there so for a better public experience. We engaged the Elevate committee on at least two separate occasions, presented the master plan and draft master plan to them twice in 2020. And then we also had a public input phase during which we were just about to kick off when COVID happened. We put all of that on hold and in public and did an online public input process, which nonetheless still got an enormous amount of feedback from the public. We also put out a public survey, so we got specific information back around what people were interested in doing and what facilities people would like to see at the park. And just very briefly, these are the top items. On the left side of the screen are the items in green are the items that people said we must have out at the park. In yellow are the items that would be nice to have, and the blue are the items that the public said would be they're not interested in. So on the right side of the screen, we boiled that down. Those are the top 10 responses when you combine must-have items with nice-to-have items. And as we programmed this master plan, we were able to include the majority of the items that people asked for that they thought were a combination of must-have and would be nice to have
Could you back up
in the
one
park.
slide, please, for just a
I
moment?
think so. Yeah.
Just a second. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. One of the things I would like to point out about this survey also that we also asked the public what they would like to see programmed out of the park. And what I can tell you is the number one item that the public asked for they'd like to see programmed at the park was public community events, festivals, markets, concerts, pickup games, things like that. So people wanted to be able to use this park with the rest of the community and have community events out of the park. And so the master plan was developed with that in mind. What we wanted to do was activate what we would call the more dead areas of the site, which is the east side of the site is a bit hidden from view. We wanted to activate that area. We also wanted to minimize conflict between vehicles and pedestrians on the site. So what this plan does is it creates activity around the area that we call the ellipse, which is obvious, the ellipse area on the eastern central portion of the site. We have 4 turf quads out there for any sorts of events from pickup games to concerts to festivals, and it is looped by a pathway that connects into the rest of the existing pathway that's out on the park today. This plan includes a replacement of the existing restroom pavilion building with a new restroom building, and then we also are replacing the existing hexagon pavilion. It also makes improvements to the existing rectangular pavilion. One of the key things that we did on this project plan, though, is to enhance the north parking lot and the south parking lot, but disconnect the vehicular access through the middle of the park. So the central spine of the park still exists, but it is designed to be a pedestrian corridor with minimal vehicle access. So it has bollards that will allow for limited access onto the central corridor. If you wanted food trucks or you want maintenance vehicles out there, or if you need an emergency vehicle out there, there's still access. But day to day, that would be a pedestrian area. It's one of the key areas of the site, though, because it's lined with beautiful shade trees. So we wanted to keep that and enhance it. Of that master plan, the areas that are focused on for this, for implementation are the areas on the east side. So it includes the ellipse, the walking path around it, the corridor that I just mentioned, which is being pedestrianized, the central plaza, which is the east-west plaza you see there connecting the restroom building and the pavilion, and then gateways on the north and south end of that ellipse, connecting to the north and south parking areas. Importantly, it also includes the areas to the southwest corner and the northwest corner. Those are the areas we call gateways. Those are visual and physical pedestrian connections into the park. We wanted to be able to announce the park so when people are passing by on McFarland, they see enhancements to the park and see improvements here as well as what's happening in the interior. Key to this project is really to activate the space. The space is so large and wide open right now, it's easy to feel very alone out there and to feel potentially unsafe. So there are items that don't necessarily show up physically on a master plan like this, such as new lighting, security cameras, and Wi-Fi data. And that will help keep the space safer. But what's really going to help the space be safer and feel safer is to have more people there. So to give items or facilities for people to use and to be able to utilize will attract more people, and having programs out on the site will also activate the space. I mentioned that there are alternates in the CDs. These are the alternates, primarily what they include at a high level.
Alternates in the CDs? Is that
Construction documents.
Okay.
So the construction documents are the set of plans that the contractor used to base his bid. And in those construction documents, we identified some areas that could be considered to include in the cost of the project. And two of them are those two gateway areas that I just mentioned at the northwest and southwest corners of the site. And then there's also a number of areas on the pedestrian hardscape areas on the interior where the ellipse is, that are enhanced concrete. They're colored stamped concrete, and we could alternately use construction or concrete pavers for those areas. The idea is to enhance those areas and give them a visual boost. And then another one of the alternates has to do with the maintenance building and the maintenance facility around it. We created a model of the site, and I'll quickly go through what these views look like. This is looking down that pedestrianized corridor from the north to the south. There is limited access for vehicles here, including, as you can see there, food trucks, a place to plug in food trucks and have them at the interior of the park. And then what we're looking at the foreground is the pedestrian entrance to the park. This is a view looking toward the maintenance facility in the background with the copper roof, and then and the ellipse pathway is right there at the central, coming off one of the primary gateway areas. This is the central plaza at the new pavilion. This area includes a lot of activation, including permanent ping pong tables, there's cornhole, and there's bocce, and there's lots of places to sit, including the seat wall, the planter walls that run down this corridor, which you see at the center. This is a view from one of the gateways. This is the southwest gateway overlooking back into the open space in the background of the park. So the intention there is to enhance that corner so it has a nice visual impact from the street. And then this is the pedestrian entrance from the south parking lot. You can see the new restroom building over in the far back left. We're looking at and working with the city staff to consider potential value engineering items. And this is a list of some of the ones that are being considered by city staff at this point. The ones at the very top and in the middle, a lot of those have to do with the fiber and data out in the project site, as well as some of the grading and the way we have that grading work done. What's important as far as the scope of work are the items at the bottom there, which include a number of items including reducing the electric vehicle charger, removing the new water fountain by the existing, what I call the rectangular pavilion, renew portions of sidewalk next to the south parking lot. I'll show you these on a graphic in just a minute so you can see where they are. The ellipse path is now 12 feet wide. There's a thought to reduce that down to 10. There are a number of seat walls that you saw in some of the graphics that we could reduce some of those items. There are 6 seat wall planters in the center of the central plaza. We could reduce 2 of those or remove 2 of them. All of the turf, the grass out on the side is intended to be sod at this point. We could do that with seeding or hydro seeding. And then some changes to the irrigation system in the way that that was put in or was planned, and also to reduce some of the play items out in the central plaza, including removing one of the bocce courts and one of the ping pong tables. And then there's also some decorative or black metal fencing that's intended to kind of quadrant off this interior of the park from the vehicular parking lots. Those are safety. So this is where those are on the plan itself, and we can, if you want to, discuss any of these, but generally they include removing those, starting from the middle, north, or the central plaza. There's 6 planters, removing 2 of those, taking out the bocce court or one of the ping pong tables, reducing, we have 2 EV chargers, removing one of those. A section of sidewalk is identified. There's the areas of low fence. All of that was considered for removing. There's a number of seat walls. We could cut that down by half. And as I mentioned, reducing the width of the new pathway from 12 to 10 feet. So those are some of the options that are being considered. Lastly, on this graphic, which doesn't show up on the other one, is removing the new drinking fountain, which is proposed for next to the rectangular pavilion, along with the water line that feeds it. And then this piece is a color graphic showing which areas could be changed from sod to seed or hydroseed, and those would be the areas in the pinkish red color. Green would be areas of sod, primarily to stabilize the verges of the pathways. And then the pink is for the rather than using sod, using seed. That is a very quick overview of a process that took many years to put into place, to remind you of what the master plan is, and also an overview of some of the items that are under consideration for value engineer.
Do all based on the drawing that we have here, depending on what extras we decide to keep or not keep, does that finish Snow Hinton Park based on the concept of what we wanted to do? Because I know we're talking, I mean, it still says kind of phase 1, remind me. Is there a phase 2 of this or?
In order to have a good grasp of what we wanted to do to enhance the park, we looked at a design plan that would consider alterations far into the future, so that we wouldn't accidentally build something today that would get in the way of what we might want to build in the future. So the full master plan that I showed to you takes into consideration potential changes far in the future. Those are primarily at the central areas on the western side of the site. The areas that we really wanted to have an impact on were the gateways, the central ellipse area, and improving the parking. So that really is the project, with an eye to the future. Should you want to go through an additional process, we would be able to do that.
But we did include the lighting and camera for the entire park itself.
Thank you, Mayor. That is true. So that's out in that area. Those areas do include new lighting for that entire part of the portion of the park.
So questions from committee members?
So
Just
so to
say-
go back up to the
And council.
50,000 foot level, Katie Beth, could I call on you as a Elevate voice? This is an Elevate project, right? What was what was the budget? What was the estimate for this park?
Originally in the.
I thought it was
originally adopted
6.
Elevate plan, this project had $5 million.
5.
Yes.
And then the bid on the table is 10.2,
With all alternates, it's around 10.7, I believe.
10.7 wasn't?
Is it 10.2? Okay.
It's 10.2.
This guy was
Does
10.2.
that include the new road?
No, sir.
No, sir, no. That's funded in a separate.
I know it's
contract.
separate, I just wondered if it was included in that.
It's included in the overall project budget, but it is not part of that bid amount.
The $5 million was included in the original Elevate budget in 2019. You saw in many of the planning documents, 2020, COVID, the great inflation. Back, I want to say sometime in the spring, my timing may be off, we requested and the council adopted moving an additional $4 million, I believe, into the project, knowing that costs were going to be high. $1 million of that, the 1.2, 1.3 million went towards the road with the university, partnering with the university. And
That road is or is not in the 10.2?
It is not in the 10.2.
It's not in there. And so that's where today we have a delta depending upon if you go with alternates, a $2.8 million deficit. If you reject all alternates, you have a $2,055,000 deficit. And if you go without brick pavers, and we think we can do this with stamped concrete. In fact, I think we would prefer as a maintenance issue too, is stamped concrete, $2.7 million. And so those are your.
With all the alternates in that change, right?
That's correct.
Is that before the value engineering
That is
potential?
before the value engineering, and we can't get into specifics of value engineering and determine an overall amount until we award the bid similar to other projects.
Mr. Fail?
What, you may have said this and I missed it. What would we say by going to 10 foot where it's 12? Do we have any idea?
I don't have the numbers in front of me.
It was in the thousands.
Okay, no big deal on that. I mean, not that thousands aren't important. But I really, and I know Mr. Tyner had this in his district before he was so kind to put it in mine. I want to see it be very first class, because this is for all of Tuscaloosa. This isn't for District 6. I mean, this is a showcase when people drive through town. It really is.
Yeah, that's how I've always felt. It's right in the heart of the city.
Right.
And I think you'll see everybody from every district at Snow Hidden Park.
And we remember when there was Little League baseball fields here, and that was that.
Yep.
So earlier, or last week, Mr. Crow and I talked, and although this is projects committee, he wanted us to begin a discussion, and depending upon which level of, the council ultimately went with, how would you pay for it?
I think that's the biggest question.
But
I don't think it's whether we want to do it or not.
No, I do believe it, and Norman and I have talked about that also, Mayor. So we all agree this is going to combine both the project aspect of it and the financial discussion is integral to that. We may move one from one committee to another, but I think the issue on the table is we have somewhere between $2 and $2.8 million over budget. Right?
Yes, sir.
And that's after bumping it from 5 million to 9 million, right? I think
really 8 million, because we took
okay.
1.2 or 3 towards
Out for the university road. Okay.
But you're right.
So I think the project aspect of the discussion is there that much more? You used the term, you know, we talk about return on investment, you use return on community. Is there $2 to $2.8 million more return to the community over the increase we've already put in there? And then where does it come from? Because I know there's talk about we came in roughly 2 million under on the Barnes branch, and I just don't want that to be presumptive. That's my main concern, that if that's what we decide as a council, then that's what we decide. But I want there to be conversation about it, because I very much would like to see that roughly 2 million remain inside the realm of YMCA improvements, because I have one sitting over here that there's 25,000 housing units within walking distance. So I didn't mean to go on a rant, but that I see those as the two aspects. Is there value there for another 2 to 2.8 million? And if there is, if that's what we decide, where is it gonna come from? We're gonna pay for it.
We've outlined an email today. I met with our staff today to begin a discussion, just knowing you would want broad parameters. They're not meant as, and by the way, it's not necessarily exhaustive, because, and I'll mention why in a second. Based off today, in terms of available resources, the A&F feels comfortable it could allocate $165 in interest income out of this fiscal year, project $600,000 in interest income in '24 from Elevate. Right now we believe at the end of the day you have 2 million unencumbered-ish in your, not ish, you'll have 2 million, probably more, but Katie Beth wanted to be very conservative just because Benjamin Barnes branch is beginning its process. So you don't want to, just say, well, we think that's going to be the number, because as you know, as you get into projects,
Something may happen.
something may happen.
I appreciate the consideration.
And we feel comfortable that you could transfer into the River District Fund the amount of professional service fees out of Elevate into the RDF, which would free up $500,000. We believe we can you can get somewhere between $500,000 to $1 million in savings if we update the timing of the University Boulevard projects to what we believe the construction schedule is going to be. Right now, the timing of the funding of those projects are based on a timing that is just not realistic. So moving those projects out would have the net effect of freeing up those dollars. There is also I think right now we have a projected contingency of a little over $1.5 million for this fiscal year in Elevate. Now that's unaudited. We just finished the fiscal year. We truly don't know that number until we get to sometime in March or April. We also know that we could have some other impacts with the timing of the bond issues for Savings Center, et cetera. And what we would like to do is walk y'all through these things at the next Finance Committee meeting. So you get right now I'm just hitting you with it. We need to walk you through what those things would mean, what their practical impacts are. But we feel like as a staff, there is that return on community. It is by far probably Tuscaloosa's most known park in the center of our city. I've heard it described as our Central Park, and it has a historical name attached to it in Mayor Snowhen, and maybe I'm just partial to mayors, but it's
There's no renaming.
there's no renaming. I know y'all already decided lift station 21, but
Doggone
it.
Walt Maddox Parkway down here.
But we do see that with this park, plus the lighting and security is another big part. When you looked at the surveys that were done, that is the #1 issue among people who would utilize that park. And I agree. I think the better our lighting, the better our security, that park will become even more popular than it is today. But I think, Mr. Busby, I absolutely agree. What you laid out is the path that the council needs to go on. We had one bidder, and they've agreed to extend the bid to mid-October, October 17th, off the top of my head. So we've got, a couple weeks to work through this issue, and if y'all would like to run dual paths, however the council would like to run it, we certainly will work with you.
It makes sense to me that, I'm glad we started having the financial discussion, because I think you've got to marry that with what our wants are, because I think this is a fabulous project. I mean, it looks great. I think the question to me, and I believe the committees and other council people, is how do we pay for it? So I think throwing this out is great. I think the path forward in my mind is we don't vote on this today in projects. We take this up in finance a step further with the financial information that you've given today, and Carly and her team will go back and look at stuff. We would, hopefully, the committee would be ready to vote on projects next week, and then we see kind of what happens in finance on Tuesday, depending on kind of how that works. But even worst case scenario, I would think, Mr. Chairman, we could vote on the 17th and vote on council that night if we had to.
Depending on what it looks like, I think that's
Correct.
feasible. But
Now,
what I would,
that's doable.
Mr. Chairman, I would
Meet the
suggest that on the project side, we're bumping up on 3:30 now. Let's table the continuation of the project side until next week. And then, Mayor, if you and accounting and finance can get us a written skeleton of the financing options, then I'm fine with that coming on the finance schedule next week to begin that talk. I'm not guaranteeing we'll be voting on it next week, but we could. Does that work for y'all?
Yes, sir.
And again, we have this afternoon, I emailed out a brief
Okay.
synopsis.
I haven't seen it yet.
We will continue to add where we can into that. Our goal is to provide you a menu if you decide to go forward, and certainly we think we should. And so if you come to that conclusion, then what we want to provide the council is a menu of options to pull from, so that it's just not one option and that's it. We think we've got several different options that you could pick from, because the reality is that this won't be the last project. As we've seen, we've been very fortunate in vertical construction to get lower prices, like with Benjamin Barnes Fire Station 11, but in what I call the horizontal infrastructure, horizontal construction, pricing is not dropping. And so I don't think this will be the last, and we could see this in the future with the tennis center. That will be coming probably sometime in second quarter, third quarter of next year.
And just to make a quick comment on the timing of votes for both projects and finance and then moving to council, we are not going to be able to vote on awarding bid at council unless there is a corresponding budget revision available at council to vote on and can be voted on simultaneously. So if the project is voted out of projects committee next week, but then there is a halt on the finance committee option, then we would need those to move simultaneously to council.
So Mayor, who could go out? We had a single bidder, right? Could we talk with them about a simple 2-week extension beyond where we are? I mean,
I'm gonna let Tom, I don't wanna get.
I just don't want the financing option crammed in like that. We're still on the if or not if, as we're gonna parallel pick up the financing piece.
Yeah.
And it's going on agenda next week for committee, but that doesn't give any wiggle room.
We've already
That's what
extended
I
it 2
think it should
weeks.
be on 1.2.
2 more weeks may be problematic. But we can look into that.
Can you ask them?
We can look into that, yes, sir. But like I said, we've already asked for 2 weeks beyond 45.
When did we receive the bid?
Just 8/24.
8/24,
Yes, sir.
August 24th?
Yes, sir.
We notified, the council was notified, and we spent the time, we were, just to be blunt, we were very surprised to have one bidder and the price of the bids. Eric and his team spent a considerable amount of time digging in with Barge, digging in with the contractor. And again, I think it's, we cannot go in and budget you value engineering. But I do think there's some opportunities within this project to go ahead and as we get into the project, similar to pedestrian bridge, to be able to reduce some cost out.
And who puts a dollar sign on that value engineering? Is that Barge? Is that us? Is that the bidder? Who?
So it,
I
it's
mean,
gonna be a
we
combination.
saw some value engineering options up here, right?
Correct.
Who puts the number on that?
So it's partially what Barge had in their calculus, but also working with Tim and John Plott company as far as how it made it into the bid on what we could pull out and kind of what those cost savings would be.
And what do we think that number is?
Due to some of the dirt work that we're not going to know what the full savings are until it gets out there, it could be 400,000, it could be more. It just depends on what level you want to value engineer the project down with some of the options that we've come up with.
Okay.
And I would in this, again, it's if you have an opportunity, we certainly have an idea, and I'm certain the contractor has an idea. If you can talk offline with Eric so that he can give you a full overview, but again, just to be clear, you can't. There's nothing. We can go into this with an idea, but value engineering has to take place during the course of construction, not at the front end of issuing the construction contract. So we don't want to tell the city council, hey, we think you. Does that make sense? I don't want to promise you
It's
something.
not guaranteed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No different than anything else we've done with value engineering.
Yes, sir.
Same situation. In light of our
So do I need to
conversations,
make that in the form of a motion
I
to
would like to,
continue
somebody make a
this?
motion to table this for 1 week.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there any other business to be brought before this committee?
Is there something in particular, we've got to charge, I believe, for finance? Anything in particular you would like to see for projects? So that we're prepared for you?
I don't,
I
I think there's gonna be a lot of sausage making going on. I mean, when we've
But I
talked
think
about
being
this, there's gonna
prepared,
be.
I mean, let us think through this. We may have some more questions on maybe the park and different things, but I think the biggest issue is if we decide to do this, how are we gonna pay for it?
Will you also,
It's the number one issue.
Mr. Chair, will you also
Yeah.
send the master plan to us so that we can all review here? Will you
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank y'all so much for an excellent presentation. I do agree that we do need to look at the finances, and I think this is a great project.
I would also, before we adjourn, like to welcome members of UA's journalism class back again to see us today. Appreciate y'all being here. And if there is no other business to be brought before the committee today, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor